Hello, and welcome to Watching Worst Films, your Razzie podcast. Ordinarily, each week we take a year and we watch the Razzie Worst Film winner for that year and sort of give you a breakdown of the lowlights that cinema has to offer. But every so often we do a special, which allows us to cover a bad film which doesn't quite fit into our boxes. And so this one was one of my suggestions. It's a recent release. I saw this in the cinema a couple weeks ago, and the credits played, and I was like, this is incredible. We need to speak about this.
Yes.
So that is why we are here to discuss 2023's Hypnotic, directed by Robert Rodriguez.
My boy.
Starring Ben Affleck.
Not my boy.
So, should we get started off? Kyle, what was your background with this film?
Not much. I intended to go see it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, like, you spoke about it, I think, before you even seen it. And, I mean, I make it no secret that I love Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He's, and I love him more than his films, I have to say. Especially now, maybe 2001, 2000, whatever. I stuck up for him to the death, but he's a gun for hire now, so I'm okay with that. I was put off by Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
I think he's like the anti-draw for me sometimes. I just you know what? If it was Danny Trejo or like I don't know who the fuck who could Robert get Seagal or someone bankable, I'd be there. So I did intend to see it though, but it dropped out of cinema real quick here.
yeah.
I think it was only in one theater for a week, 2 weeks, a couple of days. It really wasn't quite there long enough, so I missed it. And then because I missed it, I never intended to see it until now. So that's it. That's all my only background. I love Rodriguez. I'll watch anything by him. So yeah, I did.
Yeah. So for me, my family saw it at an unlimited preview screening. For overseas listeners, like biggest chain of cinemas has this thing where you can see movies a couple weeks before release. So all of my family saw it about 2 weeks before general release, and my mum was like, "It's good." My dad was like, "Yeah, yeah," and my brother was like, "It's terrible." And he said the password, the activation code that perked my interest is like, "It's this year's Serenity," and I was like, "Oh. Hello." Leaned in. So I saw it, I think on opening day, and I was like, yeah, this is incredible. I didn't know anything going in, really.
No.
I knew it was kind of like a twisty turny thriller, and I didn't even know Robert Rodriguez had anything to do with it.
No.
So when that final title card came up, or that first title card of the credits directed by Robert Rodriguez, I was like, oh, Robert.
Well, right.
Robert.
I knew it was. I think that's what appealed is the Rodriguez does Nolan.
Yeah.
Is so exciting for me. The only one thing I actually did know about this film, I seen him because I follow Robert on social media, is he was talking about how much it was fun it was to do with his whole family.
Okay.
I think, I know one of their names is because it stuck with me, is Rocket Rodriguez, which is a great name.
They're all alliterative, aren't they?
They all are the more.
Because there's a Rebel.
Rebel.
In fact, Rebel did the music. Is Rebel a child or is Rebel a... Okay.
No idea. I didn't read. He just said that they edited, wrote with them, did...
Oh.
I can't remember. Music was one of them, yeah. And like everything's in house. He was like, I basically just made a film with my family, and I was happy to do, because he's a happy boy, and and it's not like
he's going a little Kevin Smith in his old age.
Well, no, because my stance on nepotism babies, but like if you're making them work doing editing, and
if you're putting your kids to work, that's another.
Right, yeah. If Rocket Rodriguez is a key grip but not lead actor, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
You're making them earn their stripes, and I'm okay with that. It's not a Max Landis. It's
it's a family business. We're going to be all working together and collaborating on something. That's nice.
That is nice. So that's one thing I knew about that. Other than that, though, it's completely blind. Like I knew nothing about the plot or who was in it or anything. I lit up though when I started watching it and seen it was an hour and a half. And I thought, this is why I love you, Robert. You can condense a Nolan 5-hour epic into a svelte 90 minutes, and I'm so happy.
There could have been a version of this which I would have adored. Like this, we'll get into it as we go on, but like it's almost like it's a Nolan ripoff, but it's also like a throwback to those sort of like 90s The Game style twisty turny thrillers. On a budget of 65 million.
Oh fuck!
How much do you reckon this made?
I thought it was half
And
that.
it's still playing, I think.
I thought that was half the budget because right. So I'm gonna go. Oh fuck! I thought it was gonna be 30, and I was gonna say 15. So I'll stick with that and say half its budget. Say 30 million.
So at time of press, according to Wikipedia, it has made $6.1 million.
Fuck's sake. Well, you know what? Like, if you're gonna do a tax write-off, who better to hire than Robert Rodriguez?
I don't know. I'm like it because we haven't really done too many modern films beyond like My Son Hunter, which is presumably made in a shoestring, Morbius, which was a gigantic act of hubris. I don't know what streaming and how VOD factors into things.
Yeah.
Because this is available on demand already. Yeah. So like that might be like and it's still playing in theaters, so who knows? Like this might not be as big a commercial failure as 6.1.
Yeah, okay.
So who knows? There is still hope for Spy Kids 5 or We Can Be Heroes 2.
Well, he just needs to once I've seen all his credits like written by, and he wasn't a gun for hire, I thought, this is a reward for Alita, maybe. You know, like, okay, you come in and do something for us, and then we'll give you, that's why I thought 30 million, go hang out with your family, make a film, and then we'll hire you again when we need another Alita or another thing.
It doesn't seem like it would be a huge budget. I would guess Ben Affleck's salary is probably going to be like one of the most sizable factors for this, having the budget that it did, I think. But without further ado, let us get into the plot of Hypnotic. So it opens and Ben Affleck is in therapy, and he's lost his kid, by which I literally mean he lost his kid, and that they were playing at a playground and someone stole his kid.
He literally like turns around and then the kid's gone. It's fantastic. It was my first little laugh. Which I was hoping, even in this, like I thought this was gonna have a little bit of Rodriguez humor in it. I don't know why. So I didn't know.
Just a funny child abduction.
Yeah, but like it's played so fucking serious, and I thought I laughed, and I was like, oh no, this is bad sign. I shouldn't be laughing already at you. I should be with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was hilariously done. I like the child acting and I'll talk about it later. Is exactly what Robert Rodriguez directs all the children, from like Spy Kids to We Can Be Heroes. Like he has a very certain style, a very weird wooden thing that comes, and it's great. But yeah, I laughed out loud at this. The therapy, but you know what? Like it sets it up real fucking quick. It doesn't hang around. I'm imagining a proper director that is going to be spending time building all this, and how are we going to show? No. Robert's just like turns around.
Within 30 seconds, you know all you need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hadn't fallen off with the film yet. I was like, okay, no, this is just the kind of pulpy. We're getting to where we need to be. People aren't coming to Hypnotic for the character piece. This is just plot. Daughter's missing. Be great.
Yes.
And so before she gets abducted, Ben Affleck is doing her hair, and he says, "This is not a braid. This is a maze. Only your mother can solve." And yeah, well, my invitation for you was, I was like, you watch it and you just like try and figure out where we are at every point in the film, because there are so many twists and turns. Like trying to second guess this film is incredible, because things just come out of nowhere.
It fooled me. Like, so I've done that. I've done what you asked. I've tried to keep a track of what the fuck was going on, and I didn't expect. I mean, there was a few I was like, okay, I get that. I see where you were trying to do with that. There was a few twists that we can talk about where I did not see it coming at all. Like I would never ever predict it. So like credit to that as well. Like it's weird to have a film that's so formulaic and derivative, but so original and out there. Yeah, I gotta commend it for that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my own task was I was going to try and spot all of the Nolan touches.
Okay.
And so that was what mazes, obviously, like a big Nolan thing through Inception. That like his production company Syncope, like their logo's a maze. Mazes, very big things for Nolan. Only Your Mother Can Solve. Initially, I thought while watching this in theaters, I was like, okay, the mother is going to be dead, and that's going to be like another
No,
key Nolan trope is the
I
dead
thought
wife.
that as well. I thought that.
Yeah. Then we have windmills. So if you remember in Inception, windmills are a sort of motif through that of like when they're incepting Cillian Murphy. He has this, like, the one good memory he has with his father is at the park, and they have this little windmill. And so that's what they put in the safe, and the windmill is what convinces Cillian Murphy to dissolve his father's company. And in this, Affleck's kid is playing with a windmill, and there's like a ton of windmills. In fact, is Affleck almost not looking at the windmills when his daughter disappears?
Yes, I mean, see, he's as subtle as a punch to the face, isn't he? I love it.
So those are my first Nolan observations, and we then get out of therapy because Affleck gets a phone call, and he's like, or his text, like a text goes off, and he's like, oh, duty calls. And she's like, do you need to go? And he's like, I don't know, you tell me, do I need to go? And she's like, yeah, sure. Same time next week. As he heads off, he leaves the division of occupational therapy and he gets in the car with his partner, who'd been apparently waiting for, I guess he's picking him up, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
But Affleck steps on a cockroach and he comments to his partner. Partner has some dialogue, and my note here was, this is so flat. Like, the partner's like, hey, we've got a call to, oh, that's what it is. The partner's like, hey, we got a call from a bank, and it's a 911 call where I was like, this sounds like people reading a script. I was like, Rodriguez hasn't always been this bad at directing actors. Why does this sound so flat? Because everything from the partner speaking to Affleck, from the people on the phone, it just sounds so flat. But ahoy, there's a reason for that.
There is.
He's Robert's actually.
He's smarter
he's
than
firing
you know. I noticed this as well because the partner is called Nix. I remembered that. I don't remember anyone else, and I don't know who played him, but I've never seen him before. You probably have, and I assumed he wasn't. I assumed he isn't a top talent actor. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So I assumed the wooden weird flatness was either Robert needed to go play guitar in an hour and couldn't hang around, or the actors just weren't, because he also, like, classic Rodriguez in my head is working with much bigger names and much more experienced or better people. So I just assumed it was like, at this point, I was like, it's going to be Affleck who's going to be our main talent, and everyone else is going to be B-list and lesser roles and stuff. They're getting their spotlight. But no, you're right. He does have a reason for it. So, like, again, take it all back.
Yeah. So the actor who plays his partner is J.D. Pardo, who, you're right, I've seen in one thing. He's in the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 as Nahuel, but a bunch of TV credits. So I've only seen him in that one thing. He's also in Fast 9 playing Jack Toretto. And upcoming, he's going to be in the remake of Roadhouse. So they head off to their little police surveillance van to deal with this bank robbery. And they're like surveilling what's going on, and they see William Fichtner, Nolan reference number 2. William Fichtner, I was a big fan of Prison Break growing up, but in which he plays the officer, like the sort of FBI officer, I think, that's trying to track him down. But he is perhaps most known as the guy from the opening of The Dark Knight, who, like, the mob bank manager guy who shoots the Joker with the...
Exactly. Right, so when he first appeared, I obviously recognized him. I know him from so many things, because, again, he's
a good little character actor, yeah.
Just because he's got that gaunt face. For one split second, I thought it was Tobin Bell from the Saw series. And I was like, oh, yes. And then it clicked, because I was like, you're in the start of Dark. You're the bank manager boy in the Dark Knight. And here we are in a bank. And an old ripoff.
Exactly.
So, like,
do you know who you're robbing from? You and your little friends are dead.
So, but I lit up for him, because I was like, either Rodriguez knows what he's doing here, and I keep underestimating him, and he is much smarter, and he knows that I'm
Yeah.
going to think that. He knows you're going to think that. He
Yeah.
could maybe trick me into thinking I'm going to go see a Dark Knight caliber film. So fair play to him. But yeah, it was great to see him.
So they're watching him from their little surveillance van, and he goes up to someone and he says like, "Oh, it's hot," or like, "Lovely weather we're
Yeah,
having, isn't
yeah.
it? It's a heat wave." And the cops in the surveillance van are like, "He's speaking in code. What does this mean?"
Hmm.
But he's not. This is in fact the power of suggestion. He's doing the Jedi mind trick because the woman is immediately like, "Oh, it's so hot. It's so
Yeah.
hot. I'm gonna take my clothes off." It's
Hmm.
a bit Patrick Stewart from Extras. Of like, I say to her that it's raining and your clothes are wet and you better
Hmm.
take them off. And before anyone can do anything, I've seen everything. So she wanders off into traffic, taking her clothes off, and then he does another couple Jedi mind tricks on people, and Affleck's just kind of watching them, being like, "Huh, what's going on here?"
Hmm.
And Fichtner gets into the bank, and the bank teller says, "Good morning," and he replies, "Morning. It's late afternoon." And she's like, "Oh, you're right," and immediately walks off.
Yeah,
And I'm like, this is so fucking awkward. Why doesn't he just say, like, "It's afternoon, actually," or
yeah.
something? Like, why does he acknowledge, like, the rules of how hypnotism works in this universe? We will get into in a little bit, but I don't think they have a clear idea
No,
of how it's meant to.
I know. I totally agree. And it was like, thankfully, the movie's called Hypnotic. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I know. I'm not a 12-year-old child, but yeah, it is weird. It is weird. I can't
Yeah.
deny it.
And so Affleck rushes into the bank and he gets to a safety deposit box
Hmm.
and it contains a photo of his daughter.
Hmm.
Yeah, there we go. His daughter with the caption "Find Lev Del."
Something.
Is it
Delvine or
Del
something.
Rain
Delvane.
again? Yeah,
Del
yeah.
Rain. Yeah, yeah,
Because that's Fichtner.
yeah.
William Fichtner's Delrain. So, and this is our Memento reference because
Hmm.
obviously in Memento, Leonard remembers things by carrying around Polaroid pictures. So check. I don't know following well enough, so I might struggle to work following into this, but
Okay.
we'll see if we can cross off all of Nolan's filmography. And so Affleck runs out and he confronts Lana Del Rey, on the roof of the bank, and he tries to hypnotize Affleck, but Affleck is resistant to hypnotism
Hmm.
because Lana Del Rey is just like wreaking havoc, telling people to take their clothes off or commit suicide. And he tries to do the same thing to Affleck, and Affleck just like shrugs it off. And Del Rey says, "Clean this up, detectives," to the Affleck's buddies, who instantly turn and shoot each other.
Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, I don't know. And then he threw.
I just want to say, like, so when they turn and shoot as well, like this is probably where I get my biggest problems with the film, is
Yeah,
something that should be done for like an impact or like to
yeah,
make the audience shocked is done in such a plain way, I guess it is to say. Like
yeah,
it's just matter of fact, turn around, boom, done. Like there, the music, I don't want to have a go at Rodrigo Rodriguez or whoever did it. But like it isn't right. You know what I mean? Like you, this is where I'm
yeah,
like, I'm like when you're doing these moments where I need a big sting and I need it all lit properly and I need, tension and I need something because I
yeah,
don't care is my biggest problem here. I
yeah,
don't care about these random officers. This has no impact on me as a viewer.
yeah,
I don't even know what Lana Del Rey's up to other than it's trying to hypnotize people and
yeah.
do something in a bank. I'm not sure. So yeah, that I just wanted to say because this was the cops shooting each other was my moment of you could have done this so much better. Just
Yeah,
plan this out more. Like think about these big beats and these impacts so much more, please.
in the cinema, this was my first moment where I was clued in that I could be in for a wild ride because I was like, "Oh, this is like this is like a ridiculous. Like I laughed because I was like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous on a way that like we're not going to see something generic. We're going to see something a little bit special. Because yeah, I have notes for that later on where there's other moments that just do not work, and you're completely right in that it just doesn't have the impact it should. And I don't know if that's because, like, I don't know if that's partly because of Affleck, because Affleck's just, he's not very emotive in that he has probably two expressions throughout the entire film. One of them being his, like, sort of sad Batman frown.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's doing it there again in my photo, covering it all. In fact, all the whole, this is, both our backgrounds are this scene.
Yeah.
I don't like, right, so, and I'll talk about it more, I don't like Affleck's performance in this.
No.
I think it's a waste of money, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But this scene, I have to shout, like, call out Robert, because you know better, you know. And I'm thinking, how would Mann do this? How would Nolan do this? How would someone that is like good at like thrillers? How would they make this? Like, this is more than just set your actors up, shoot, done. Let's go and get a Burger King.
Yeah.
Let's actually like plan this out. Let's think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this wasn't. I didn't laugh at it. I kind of groaned. I laughed at the child kidnapping, but I didn't laugh at this. I was like, this is a bad sign.
Because you're right. This is Affleck's introduction into the world of like, he's seen that woman take off her clothes and walk into traffic, but whatever, she could be like an actor or whatever. Whereas these are people that he works with who've just shot each other in the face. There needs to be more of a what the fuck going on here. My beloved Inception reference when Mal throws herself off the balcony and Leonardo DiCaprio's like, Jesus, or Tom Cruise when Brian kills himself and he has that help. Yeah.
I mean, I thought this was going to be like, so I was like, how do you fix this really quickly? Is if his partner Nix was one of them and shot someone else and then was away to shoot himself. Yeah. And then Affleck dies and takes away the gun
you're right.
or something.
Yeah.
Like, and
he's
then
more, our protagonist is active there.
Then
he's involved.
Acted,
he's doing something. Yeah.
And the person that pulled the gun, we already know and is established. That's his partner. And that's why, you couldn't say unnamed.
He knows
detective.
that's like a character of like, oh, he doesn't do this every day.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, then we have this mystery and then we have something to go on. But when it is just Joe Blogs and Joe Blogs 2, Affleck doesn't care. I don't care. I don't know who these people are. Whatever.
It takes him more, he's more processing it, whereas in this, it's just like a murder-suicide, and then Lana throws himself off the roof, and Ben Affleck's just like, kind of, okay, whatever. And that's where I'm like, okay, how does this function? Because I'm like, he threw himself off the roof. I was like, did he hypnotize the ground into not breaking his limbs when he fell on it? Did he hypnotize himself with like, you can fly? Like,
so at this point, if we just so if we pause it here, Kyle's thoughts of what's happening. I was under the assumption that the therapist hypnotized him.
Okay,
this was all a hypnotist from her, right? So I was like, we're gonna go back. She's gonna be this is the twist I thought was gonna be. Lana Del Rey is just a red herring. It's an illusion, and all this is in his head because it's some way to cope with the trauma of losing your daughter. So that's where I was at. I thought the therapist was behind it, and it made sense that when he left the office, this happened. Yeah, I was
similar. First viewing, I was like, okay, if they go limitless with this, where hypnotism can in fact help you to defy the laws of physics, then I was like, that is just too ridiculous. So I was like, there must be something where Affleck isn't as resistant to hypnotism as we have been led to believe. And so I was already spiraling where I was like, oh no, he hasn't jumped off the building. He's just done something, and he's now sort of standing in front of Affleck, and Affleck's just like not seeing him or whatever. But already I was spiraling off where I was like, okay, this movie's going to be incredibly stupid. Is there going to be a twist like William Fichtner doesn't exist? Affleck is William Fichtner. Yeah. Affleck doesn't exist. Like this.
I mean, that's it. I didn't think Fichtner existed at this point. So that was, I agree.
So Affleck is dwelling on this Polaroid of his daughter and what it could mean. and he goes to go and see a hypnotist who is Diana Cruz. And so she's like a sort of like the fortune telling type, like, I don't know, side of the road hypnotist. And she dumps a whole bunch of expo on Affleck.
A whole bunch.
Yeah. So she's like, hypnotism, hypnotics, we have the power to do da. And then I think he takes her into the station and she's under questioning. Well, she's like, hypnotics can do this, they've got the power to do this. And the partner is like, mind control, draining bank accounts, sounds more like my ex-wife. And so this scene is then where the partner, and she so to prove her powers, to prove what she's speaking about is true, she hypnotizes Affleck's partner, where she's like, "You're a prisoner," and he's like, "Oh no, oh my god, get me out of here, and then she's like, "Go take a walk," and he does take a walk, and they chat a bit more, and then the partner returns and tries to kill them. He's just shooting at them, and Affleck disarms him and handcuffs him to the railing. And the guy is basically like degloving himself to try and get free. And Diana's like, you have to kill him. You have to kill him. There's no ways around it. Like, he's going to continue attempting to, like, he will not stop until he's killed you. So there's no fixing him. You have to kill him. And Affleck's like, no, I don't really want to. And then the guy almost rips his hand off, and Diana pops him in the head.
Well, like, 'cause I like this. So I got thoughts here as well.
Yeah.
I like, this is some nice framing from Mr. Rodriguez. This is a nice shot. I like, it's weird because it's like an abandoned prison set.
It's like a station that no one else works at. Yeah,
which is really weird, which again was reinforcing that this is all in his head.
Yeah,
like none of this is real because this is weird.
Yeah, probably, exactly. Watching this,
probably budgetary, but like I thought.
Watching this, I was like, okay, there clearly aren't enough members of the Rodriguez clan to serve as extras and to fill this out. But in universe, in film, it actually has an explanation for it. So once again, Robert, you're smarter than I give you credit for.
Yeah, exactly. And I did like this because I like when he's trying to like rip his hand off. He's almost like, just this insane, like, manic, like, I just need to get at you. I really liked it. I thought, oh, this is fun. This is trashier than what other good directors would do. So I enjoy this. This is that kind of like the Rodriguez touch. I really like it. And I also laughed here when Cruz or whatever her name is just pops him right in the head. There's like, because I like Affleck, like, no, I can at least try and subdue him or restrain him a bit better. We could do something. We could hog tie him or something.
Yeah.
I have more cuffs. I'm a police officer. We can restrain people. No, bang. I was like, great. And that's when I was suspicious of her at this point as well. I was like, oh, you're not a goodie. You're either. In my thought, she was either going to turn out to be the therapist, like in character, like in disguise. I thought it was going to be the therapist stand-in, and that's why it was a medium or a psychic or whatever the fuck she was. I thought it was all going to tie together with a therapist at this point. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, because I was like, oh, she's a hypnotist. She could maybe deprogram him, or there will be some way there'll be some MacGuffin to put him back to normal. But she's like, nope, once you're hypnotized, you're as good as... In fact, she says to him, she's like, oh, your partner's mind's been destroyed. Like, he's dead. Like, the man is already gone. So you just have to... He's a zombie. You just have to kill him. And so... They then run off to try and work out what is happening. And so this is where they go on their little road trip, and they're at a diner and they hypnotize someone into leaving a bigger tip, I think. That's all I really have to say about that. And then they meet Jackie Earle Haley, who just delivers yet more exposition. He delivers like a whole big monologue about what's going on and Lana Del Rey and what he what he wants. Is this where they mentioned Domino? I think they might mention Domino a little later.
This is in Mexico, right? We're in Mexico.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
So I lit up when we went to Mexico because I thought, fucking love you, Robert. Like
Yeah,
we're going because you know, like it's got everyone talks about that Mexican filter in movies. You know the
yeah,
hue over like Breaking Bad, and we're abroad, we're in a foreign. He does
yeah,
that all the time, and he's Mexican, and I love that. And when we went to Mexico, he does it. He turns it up even more. So I adored him for going home. We're doing only location shooting in the States until I'm going to go visit more family.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
this is where we get more exposition about what the fuck. This is about the triggers and Domino, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I've mixed this up slightly, but I don't think I have anything relevant to speak about. So yeah, they follow a trail of breadcrumbs down to Mexico, and they get fed more information about the plot by another character. So this is Jackie Earl Haley, who they hypnotize their way in, and he tells them all about Lana Del Rey and Domino. And then they're like, "Oh, how do you know so much?" And then, surprise, it's actually Lana
yeah.
Del Rey himself.
Which I
And
never, I
it's
never
like,
would have got. I never would have called
yeah.
this. Never.
This was a moment I flagged up of like, this is like a really bad beat by Rodriguez, because like just like the way the moment's staged is like it's revealed as Lana Del Rey, and then they kind of like pause for a moment and then say run, and it's just like
Hmm.
it's just like a bad direction of like, it's like they're watching and then they're cued and then they run, whereas it's like it's either poorly edited. Maybe we can blame his family,
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna
like
blame,
it
blame
might
his
be in the
children.
editing, because it's not snappy enough.
Yeah,
Of there is that lag from, you see that it's Lana Del Rey, and then they're kind of like pause, pause,
oh,
pause,
yeah,
run, and then they
yeah.
go.
Because he thinks he's trying to get time for the audience to catch up. I think
Yeah,
is what he's probably going for. But yeah, no, you need to
yeah,
be snappy. You need to. We're not like. Don't treat your
like
audience as stupid. Just go.
yeah. Like the moment falls flat of, it's like, as soon as you see this guy, you should already be running, not like, oh, like, yeah.
Hmm.
And so they're chased by some Mexican cops, and there's another like bad moment, I think, where they're cornered in an alley or something, and Affleck points the gun at them, and then like I think they corner him, and Affleck's instinct is he points the gun at them, and then there's a beat, and then he's like, oh, and puts it up.
Yeah,
And just that shift from like immediately up to, and it's like, oh, cop. It's just again sloppy, whereas like he'd been shot dead the moment he pointed the gun at
yeah,
them, but just like
yeah.
that casual, I don't know. And then Affleck, Rourke.
Don't
Affleck,
call him.
Rourke does
No, he's
some.
Affleck. We're not changing now. I didn't write his
Yeah.
name down.
Yeah.
Um,
um,
he's Affleck
he
throughout.
he does some hypnotism, and so he like, Lana Del Rey corners them in an alley with a bunch of cops, and then Affleck's like, "You will leave me.
Hmm.
You will turn your guns away," and so holy shit, things are getting intense. We get a bunch more expo. We get oh, that's what it is. Affleck's running through like a rail yard, which Tenant reference. It's like when John David Washington is running through there at the start of Tenant, but the more obvious Nolan reference is the bending sky.
Hmm.
So they
Hmm.
do that thing where like the ground sort of bends
Yeah.
up double and is in the sky, and there's no reason for that.
No reason
Like,
at all. Right. So yeah, I have thoughts on this scene. Not much. Like you say, the sky bending is so unnecessary. It is. I mean, it's for the poster. It's for the trailer, I assume. It doesn't look good either. This is why I thought it
no.
had a lower budget. I thought this looks such like a Snapchat effect or something. Like
Yeah,
it
like
doesn't look good.
Inception's 13 years old at this point, and it looks a million times better
Yeah.
than
And like yeah, there's just no way around that. There's no way of saying like it looks good. It doesn't. My favorite bit here, though, that I actually noted down, is when they're on their motorbike going towards
yeah,
the scene to the skybend in Saudi, and
yeah,
they're like, dodging people. And
yeah.
Cruz, I don't know if it's a pipe or a baseball bat, But she picks one up and she just wallops someone, which is great because yeah, he was running after them. He turns like into hypnosis mode to go after them. But
Yeah.
I just laughed because I thought, oh, he's just going for a run or he's just trying to get out the way,
Yeah, yeah.
and she's just cracking the back of the head, which I thought was wonderful. That's another. It's like the third laugh. And if it was classic Rodriguez, I know how you'd have done that. If this was like
Yeah.
1999 or something, that head would have
Yeah.
exploded and it would have been amazing. But yeah, this was Rodriguez can direct action. He can do it really well. Even modern Rodriguez, Alita was such a competent.
You haven't seen Book of Boba Fett, have you?
I have not. He didn't.
Oh,
That's
okay,
not.
yeah.
If you ask him to come in for a day, like that's different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let TV whatever aside, but like he did it better in Alita, which was what I was kind of comparing this movie. I think it's probably my most recent Rodriguez film. So I don't know where he's lost it because this was done so poorly and boring and so low stakes. I got a little bit, and like throughout the film, I picked up on a lot of like Matrix vibes with like the agents, spoilers, and like this,
your reality is not real, Neo.
Yeah. So like I was seeing Matrix 2, which I'm not a fan of, but I could see how it should have been done because I've seen the film before. But yeah, those are my notes, and I didn't like this. This is where it was starting to lose me, if I'm being honest. I didn't like all this exposition dumps. I didn't like all this twists already. They were getting too many too quick, and they were unnecessary. None of it was. I was like, go back to my therapist idea. Like, let her be an evil lady because it turned out she's your wife. I don't know. Do something like have a twist. Get a Shyamalan in for a twist at the end. But like, I don't need all these like, I'm actually the villain. No, I'm actually the villain. Like, I don't.
Yeah, if you take out like 5 of the twists, the ones you have become more effective. But this film just loses you because it's throwing so much at you every scene. If you're not listening to huge expo dumps, you're having like a twist where they're like, all of that exposition was irrelevant because actually. So one of the expo dumps we get shortly after the Inception scene, which I think that is them trying to justify the sky bending, is Diana's like, the construct makes you see whatever they want you to see. It's how they get you to do the behavior they need or the behavior they want. And like, okay, but like, why is Affleck seeing the sky bending? Because it's not entirely clear the degree to which they're like, oh, he's resistant to hypnotism. He's not like immune. Yes. And so it's like, okay, so is this somewhat working on him? But again, I was prepared for the twist of like, oh, you're not actually resistant to hypnotism at all. This whole movie has been you being hypnotized by yourself or something.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
But like, that would have been like a lot. Like, if you want to do that reality bending thing, then cool. And they could have made this film a lot more subjective if they want to show us the point of view of the woman who thinks it's too hot and takes all her clothes off. The woman who's like, oh shit, it's the afternoon. Guess I'm going to clock out for lunch immediately. Or like the guys who shoot each other. Because half the time, the suggestion, like, if they're like, oh, the construct, like they're constructing reality in order to get the behavior they want, that doesn't make sense because the people's behavior doesn't follow from the premise or the instruction we're being given. Like, clean this up doesn't make you shoot your partner. No. Like, if we did something where like they thought their partner was a criminal or like whatever, they saw some demon and thought they were shooting at that and they've actually just shot their partner, whatever, then that's something. But like, I don't know. It's just like this film doesn't even abide by its own rules for like 2 minutes.
No.
So, as we were saying, this film's just a series of people who are introduced in order to dump exposition, one of which being Eye Patch Guy. And so we're going to pause for Nolan for a moment. And this is like Izzy from Mummy Returns, because Eye Patch Guy is black and Mummy Returns...
Just the hacker.
Yeah. Mummy Returns, in about a similar point in the movie, they introduce the pilot, who also, Izzy's also black, and he wears an eye patch, and they're like, oh, why are you wearing an eye patch? Like, did you lose your eye? And he's like, no, I just think it makes me look more dashing. Whereas in this, the black guy who's wearing an eye patch for an unnecessary reason is doing it to avoid the facial recognition. But nevertheless, I was excited to meet a character who I thought might bring some comedy or bring something, bring like a different element to the film, because I was getting a bit tired. But no, he is purely there to deliver yet more exposition, which is that hypnoticists are an all-powerful secret society controlling the world. And we see a bunch of headlines, one of which is from a newspaper called The World News with the headline, "Brexit heralds bleak future." So yes, we learn that hypnoticists are responsible for Brexit.
Yeah, I laughed at that. That was one of my notes.
Yeah.
My other note I picked up on, I thought this was very The Dark Knight again, with his screen. I thought, oh my god, like, we're in the Batcave. Hacking into people's houses. Morgan Freeman's going to tell them off any minute.
Yeah.
So like the way
Danny Trejo is going to turn up and do his best Michael Caine.
I cannot wait. This made me laugh as well, because he's got a line as well where he's like, it's not going to be easy, and it fails once and then instantly works, and he's instantly in. And I was like, fucking hell, you didn't do anything, and it's got great, like, obviously Rodriguez is a bit older now, but like how it was seen in the 90s of like hacking and things and screens and lines are getting access granted, and you know, we're entering the mainframe and all this. I love this little bit, because this is what I wanted more of. Where I don't think it's intentional, but this is the sort of humor I wanted through it a little bit more. If you didn't, I'm not saying parody, but like if you just inject a little bit of that charm that he's good at, this would be so much better.
I love like dumb films. Like I was completely here for this to be like a dumb thriller, and so I was like, oh, William Fichtner's like when he's like making people kill themselves and flying off rooftops, I was like, oh, this is quite a cool like all-powerful cult leader. I was like, oh, it's given a little bit like Manson family. I was like, oh, he's gonna be like, oh, what is this guy gonna be capable of? But we abandon. It's the wrong kind of dumb. Essentially, is this film. Is that it's like dumb that's trying to be smart, and so it just ties itself up in knots rather than just like I don't know, maybe I don't really like Tenet despite being like a big Nolan fan. That's not one of my favorites, but like that's completely like that's like they say in that film, like, oh, don't think, just feel. And like Nolan's constantly being like, don't think too much about this because it's gonna fall. Just look, that car's going backwards. Wow, let's watch that. And Hypnotic is the complete opposite, where it wants to sit you down for 40 minutes and talk about the plot.
Which is, you know, it's two sides of the same coin. I did think of Tenet a lot. Yeah. Because I didn't, you know, I was confused as fucking that film as well. Yeah. But they do both different styles, like you say, but it lands on the same fucking side of the coin each time. Like, it's so strange to see it, but 100%, just dump it. And it's also dump it and go, because that's our hacker's out as well at this point. Yeah. He's like, here you go, here's my computer, feel free to look up whatever you might want. You thought about Googling your wife, Ben? Thought about cyberstalking the wife? And so he does. Ben cyberstalks his wife, and he Googles his wife and daughter, and this is where he finds out that, I don't know what order it is in. Oh, it doesn't matter. He finds out that his daughter is essentially, his daughter's in the system because his daughter is Project Domino. Yeah. His daughter being the daughter of two hypnotics, hypnotics. She's super powered. So she's the project. Like, should have set this up more, but William Fichtner's after Project Domino is this thing that's going to help him rule the world. And it turns out that Domino's not what, it's a who. It's Affleck's daughter. And so he didn't lose her because he was a bad parent. He lost her because a secret society wants her. Mm-hmm. And this is where we also find out that Diana's his wife. Yes. Yes. Is this where he's woken up, isn't he, at this time?
Yeah, so you get the daughter, wife, and then bang, simulation. Yeah. So boom. Yeah.
So now we're out the Matrix. He's come out his pod. Yeah. And all the agents are there, and everyone he's seen in the fucking film so far is here.
We need to speak about the actual moment though, because the moment is something like Diana, like you see it happen. Like he's like, it's like a real Lionel Hutz. Like, Mr. Affleck, how did you get to Mexico? Well, I drove a car. Well, Mr. Affleck, what if I told you you are not in Mexico at all? And the background just sort of shimmers
Yeah.
and changes, and he's seen sitting in a little chair in front of a screen.
Hmm.
Because, like, yeah, Diana tells him that reality is a simulation, and that's where we get into this world where he's in a warehouse and it's staffed by Butlin's redcoats.
Hmm.
So if you want to take back over, then
Yeah, no, that's I've just said it. It's everyone he's met on his little. I don't know.
yeah,
Are we like an hour in probably at this point?
yeah, because like I was able to watch the runtime in a way that I didn't when I was seeing it in the cinema, and like I thought we were at the midpoint in the
Hmm.
cinema, but no, it's kind of like the beginning of the third act.
Yes, I mean it is. Like it is.
Yeah,
It is structured very clearly. At
yeah,
the very least, it might be incoherent and muddled, messy, but
yeah,
like it is very structured. As if, okay,
yeah,
here we are. We've told you the audience what's happening. This is what's going to happen now. This is his like a simulation because we're trying to get you to remember and find
yeah.
out where your daughter is, so we can have your superpowered mutant child.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what film this is, but basically Affleck is the treasure map and they need to he hid his daughter and they need to trick him into finding his daughter so they can get her. And so that you find out that like they've been putting him through this guinea pig maze, whatever, like the rat maze. He's been running this like, I don't know, 14 times or they say how
Hmm.
much, and it's like a lot. um and like whenever they fail, then they just wipe his mind and back to the start they go. And so like this is where I was like, my like the film kind of reeled me back in a little bit because I was completely checked out when it was just running around listening to exposition. But once we're there, I was like, okay, I'm kind of here for the Truman Show type Shutter Island thing,
Yeah.
where you see they're in that little warehouse soundstage. Like it's almost like a meta commentary on movie making of like it's not real, it's all an illusion. Affleck's just going about his day, whatever. He's Groundhog Day in it. Because I
Hmm.
was like, he steps on the cockroach, and like I missed it. Is the cockroach just dead?
I think so. I wasn't
Like,
paying too super attention at this point.
yeah, I meant to look out for. I was like, is this just a dead cockroach that he steps on, and they've suggested that it's living? Because I'm like, why is this a key part? Why is it like every day begins with like? Have they
Yeah,
just
I
refined
thought
this
that
where
was
they're like,
I thought it was just like the Groundhog Day alarm clock going on. I thought it's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
it's happening, it's happening. It's just to show us repetition. That's what I thought, but maybe it's
yeah? It's like a
deeper.
key
Maybe
part of. I like to think that like in some of the runs, they're like, oh, if we don't make him step on a cockroach, then he goes psychotic and murders us. So we've like. In running this Groundhog Day, we've established that a key part of the simulation is him thinking that he stepped on a cockroach. And so, like, again, the rules are not clear for how this works because everyone's like, all the little red coat secret agent members are like actors in the simulation. Like, they've
yeah,
got facades of like a little like wood construction that says bank or whatever, and like they're all running around in their little red coats playing
yeah,
the roles of people that he meets throughout the day. So that's not like, because obviously some people are extras, like some people just do not exist.
yes,
But I'm like, does Robert Rodriguez know anything about hypnotism?
yeah,
Because like this is like, surely if this is all mental, he could be sat in a chair. He doesn't
yeah.
need to be up walking around.
Yeah, so I thought about this because it's like, do you remember Darren Brown's thing where he convinced someone that there was a zombie outbreak?
No.
He hypnotized someone to think there was
Yeah.
like a zombie outbreak,
Yeah.
and he had actors dressed up as zombies, and it was semi believable. Let's say like there was
Yeah.
more effort than what Hypnotic is doing, and it
Yeah.
was the power of suggestion and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fucking effort though, right? Whereas if you
Yeah.
are this super advanced, I control the world Illuminati, there must be a way
Yeah.
just to plug in his consciousness or something, I'm sure Nolan would just plug in his consciousness, or
Yeah, he'd be
you
like in
fall
a
asleep.
trance or
Yeah,
whatever. Like he'd
your
be in a
eyes roll
chair,
back. Yeah,
eyes
yeah.
closed, and
Boom.
yeah, therapist is saying to him like, "You see a bank," and he's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah," and he's
yeah.
in the bank.
And what do you
Not
do? What?
this
Yes,
weird
yes, yes, yes.
Truman Show, Ready Player One, where he's like walking, but he's not like the scale isn't.
No.
So that because they even have like sort of like tape on the ground, like it's like a sort of Nathan Fielder
Mm-hmm.
esque rehearsal where there's tape on the ground of like, oh, now you're in Mexico, this is
Mm-hmm.
the border crossing, and I'm like, what is the scale of this fake
Because
existence?
does it cut?
Um,
Does it cut in his head?
yeah,
Does it just
yeah,
cut to a new scene in his head,
yeah,
or does he
yeah,
actually transition? Like, does he stop? Like, 'cause I don't like this part because it raises more questions
yeah,
in a film where I shouldn't be questioning everything. But yeah, what happens if he needs to pee? Like, what does he do?
yeah,
Where does he go? Like, does he just do it at the
yeah,
warehouse? Just, it would have been so much better if it was a simulation, or just like you said, a hypnosis. He's sitting back, eyes closed, or they roll white or something to show he's in a
yeah,
trance, and
yeah.
the suggestion, and they're walking through it, and then we cut to his head, and we see
Yeah,
what's
exactly. He's
happening.
seeing it. Yeah.
Yes, easy.
Like, I meant to pay more attention to it on this viewing because when I saw it the first time, I was like, what is the time scale? Because they say something like, we've wiped you like 500 times and like, we've never got to Domino. And I was like, and how long do these simulations run? Because I was like, if this is like a real trip to Mexico, it's like how people have tried to calculate how much time Bill Murray lives in
Yeah, yeah.
Groundhog Day. I'm curious how many times, like I think they specifically say they're like, this is how many times we've run the entire thing, how
Well,
many times we've wiped you.
I do remember they say there's 3 years since the kidnapping until.
Yeah,
So maybe once he initially shoot spoilers puts it away and hides her, it's
yeah,
been 3 years constantly, which would
yeah,
which would almost make sense for 500 times, because
yeah,
that's like an average of 3 to 4 days each
yeah,
simulation.
exactly, yeah.
That's a lot of work for the extras and for the cast. That's a long time to be doing this, but it is said. I think it's believable enough. It's just stupid. It's just, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah, I should have paid more attention because they mentioned something how they're like the mind can only take so much. They're like we can't wipe you too many times, otherwise it'll just like break your brain. But yet that's kind of incompatible with they reveal that they've already done it. They're like, we've done it so many times, we're basically last roll of the dice. And I was just really curious what the average duration
Yeah, I would
of
have
one of
loved it.
these
I would have
attempts is.
loved it if Ben Affleck was like brain dead by the end of the film, or
Yeah.
like just lobotomized.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Shutter Island thing of like, this is how many attempts we've had to try and trick Leo into giving up the ghost
Yeah.
and breaking free of his delusion. But I want Robert to bring more comedy to this. I want to see like the version they ran where like a guy fucked up and like a guy missed his mark and they were like, oh, forget it, we have to go
Yes.
back to the start. Or someone accidentally tells Ben Affleck like you're in a simulation, or someone gets caught speaking about like the TV show they watched and he's like, what? No, Big Bang Theory ended 5 years ago in my
Yeah.
world, and he just catches like, I want to see all the failed ones that have gone wrong.
I would have loved to see that.
Yeah, but basically, to race to the ending, Affleck gives them the slip because despite being on their compound, they all look at a windmill, and then by the time they look back, like, he's gone, where's he gone? And he's racing off, and he goes to meet Ma and Pa Kent, who's probably the best way these
No,
people
it's
can be
the best
described.
way.
Old couple who are living on a farm, and he's like, how's everything going? Good, great. And then like Diana tracks them down because she's like, oh yeah, Ben Affleck was adopted, he's probably with his adoptive parents, like, or his foster parents. And it's just it's truly bizarre because they say, like, you find out that like these people have been looking after Domino, and like the foster dad, like Pa Kent, is like, how could you trust us? And Affleck's like, you taught me everything about the world and morals. And I was like, because he's your father, essentially. Like, why? Like, what a stupid question to
Yep.
ask. Like, you were this guy's parents to all intents and purposes. Like,
Yep.
it's like, wow, how big leap of faith to trust the people who raised you. And so Lana Del Rey and everyone just
Everyone shows
turns up at the farm, and like this is where Domino makes him do a Jonestown, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it just
Like,
fucking wipes them out. Like it's great.
yeah,
It's good. I like
it's,
this. I just
yeah,
before you skit, because I expected a big dumb shoot off, Mexican standoff, no pun intended.
yeah,
I expected a big shootout and reality would snap back or something, and
yeah,
now you have to deal with the consequences of reality. But no, 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 no. Domino and her mom just put their heads together and just
yeah.
fucking cause chaos, which I really like because this is where we're getting into like the X-Men mutant kind of side of it.
I was
And
gonna say that bit where Magneto turns the guns on all the
all yeah,
cops. That was
all up for
exactly
that.
what I was thinking
All
of.
up for
Yeah,
that. Exactly.
yeah,
Give me more of that. If
yeah,
again, like I'm glad because I also I didn't look at the timing here either. Like I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is we're firing through the ending, but so does the film. He is in a rush to make Spy Kids 6 or whatever. Like he has got
yeah,
things to do, places to be. Let's fucking wrap this up.
yeah.
I have a shed out the back. We'll do it there. We'll do it on my ranch or something. Film
Yeah,
the ending. Let's go home. Call it a day.
yeah, it's I forgot to say, Manpa Kent gets shot before like all the redcoats arrive at the farmhouse and they shoot Manpa Kent, and
Yeah.
then the daughter does the Jonestown, where they all just like shoot each other, and it's absolute chaos. And this is where we get the one change in Affleck's expression. Is he smiles. Like he
Mm-hmm.
smiles to himself as his daughter is committing a massacre. Like his daughter is
Mass
killing
homicide.
like
Yeah, just wiping
yeah,
out
exactly.
people.
Like it's like like kind of like Looper, another film I really like with the Rainmaker of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like you're left to wonder like, what is this girl going to grow up to be? Because at the age of 10 or whatever, she's just made like a bunch of people like kill
This
themselves
is
with like without batting an eyelid. And Ben Affleck grinning away like daughter's first massacre. I was like, he is not the Pa Kent that needs to instill the system of
100%.
values
And
in.
I see if classic Rodriguez was making this film,
Yeah,
what would happen is the final scene would be the therapist talking to the daughter, and
yeah,
she would be like, "Listen, like my dad was hypnotized in a warehouse, and I'm a
yeah,
biological freak that killed 30 people."
yeah,
And then we play it on almost like a ha ha ha, but it would wrap up nice and circle with a nice beat of humor in it. Like
yeah,
to show the absurdity of what's just happened as well, like to kind of punch home you've been on a roller coaster ride, or even if she's like, where do I begin? Like my
yeah.
father, like I was abducted. Exactly, just no, but it doesn't happen.
I want to give Rodriguez more credit. Was I was like he like because he cuts to these pictures, like he cuts to these shots of Affleck smiling away, and I was like, he has to be aware of how ghoulish this is. So like we're gonna get a final twist where it's gonna turn out that like Fichtner is going to be the hero, basically, of he was
Mm.
just aware how powerful she was and wanted her to be kind of like trained or sort of like put away for her own good. And like Affleck is the one that was like, no, like whatever. Or like Affleck's gonna like, I thought they might go like a super villain twist, like the M Night thing of
Mm-hmm.
like Affleck's gonna slide her like a little folder, like, well done, honey, that was a great start.
Yeah.
Next thing, off to the Republican National Convention. We're gonna do it again. But it's not. It's just like she's doing the Jonestown, like she's just making them all kill each other. And man Pa Kent jump out of a shed with shotguns and just start
It's amazing.
blasting everyone who the door hasn't already killed. So good. And like this is where like Affleck's like they're unblocking the mother because they're like, oh, like this is your daughter, and we had to part from her for her own good. And like it's portrayed as like a sweet moment as like all this like bloodshed is taking place behind them, and like uplifting music's playing and Affleck's grinning sweetly as he sees his wife and his daughter reunited. We get one final Nolan reference in that you kind of get to see some of how the resetting procedure works. So the person whose mind's getting wiped sits there in a chair while someone in a fencing mask sprayed red, like a kind of Squid Game mask, asks them, have you ever been in love?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a rainbow? And so I was like, oh, this is Batman Begins. This is Cillian Murphy's like scarecrow mask. I was
Yeah,
like,
okay,
why
okay.
is the mask relevant here?
Hmm.
Like, what significance does this have? But
It's a
I guess it
trailer
looks
moment, though.
cool.
It's a trailer moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's something
yeah,
you put in at the trailer and
yeah.
done.
So my other final one, I would say, like to link this into the Nolan verse, you could kind of say there are elements of the Prestige in terms of like the doubles, the families not knowing like
Yeah.
living sacrifice, whatever. Like there's little prestige elements that I don't want to give away without spoiling the Prestige. So yeah, that kind of concludes me tying things into the Nolan verse.
Hmm.
So just general thoughts. What did you think of this film overall? Were you happy to have seen it?
I feel like your dad. What was your dad's review?
He was just kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like it's not Razzie worthy in my opinion. There's elements that could be nominated, and I'd understand. I
yeah,
think I've spoke about all my fixes throughout this episode. There's put it give it a better script, make it make sense, or put it in the film, put it in a director that's more suited. Otherwise, turn it up and make it more Rodriguez. But I didn't hate it. It was 94 minutes, so it's a fucking breeze, to be honest. Like you
yeah.
can't. I part of me dreaded if it was going to be 2 hours 45 minutes. I'd have been broken.
Come
But
on,
like
Kyle. With everything you know about Robert Rodriguez,
he's a man that's just
surely there is no way that he would ever deliver a film over
he would
220.
never do that to me, and I'm grateful for it. I think it's a fine watch. It's honestly it feels like a VOD, video on demand film.
Yeah,
Feels like it would be dumped to Prime, and
yeah,
you've got nothing else to do on a Saturday night. What's on? There's a new Gerard Butler movie, or we've got Hypnotic with Ben Affleck, or we've got
yeah.
the president's neck is missing. Like
Yeah,
um,
yeah. This is infinitely better than any number of the Ryan Reynolds Netflix
oh
movies
yeah, oh yeah.
because like this was fun. Like I like watching
You're
this
gonna
movie.
say loved it.
It's a fun movie to watch and like it exists. Like there's stuff going on and there's decisions being made. Like it doesn't feel like it's designed by algorithm in the way
No,
that like Red Notice
no, no,
or
no.
like The Gray Man or whatever. Like all the Netflix movies just feel like I don't know what happened for like I feel like my mind's been wiped
Well,
and
he's
I'm
good at
just
it.
like
He's done the biggest on-demand film. Is We Can Be Heroes still the most streamed film ever or something? So like, and that doesn't feel like a fucking algorithm
oh
film. It's a kids' film, but
no,
it's still got
yeah,
this charm and it's still got his touch to it. Yeah, I just wish there was more Rodriguez flavor. Just a
yeah,
touch. Like that's all I'm asking for. But like I'm not complaining. This was an easy watch. Like I say, the time towards the middle, especially around the hacker time, I did drop interest because
yeah,
it's getting convoluted and it could be simplified and a bit more exciting, a bit more stakes. Like my problems here are probably Robert Rodriguez, the writer, and not Robert Rodriguez, the director. Everything else is so competent. Everything else is the man knows how to make films efficiently
yeah.
and competently. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, despite criticizing him for these beats where like it's sloppy and it doesn't like the moment doesn't play, I agree with you. My fix for this is probably that he needs someone else to write the
Yeah,
script.
yeah, that's
It
definitely
was
that's
co-written with
always.
someone. It's like story by Rodriguez, but
I
it's
thought it was
like
his son because he said in the interview his son co-wrote it with him. I don't know if he was
it's like
credited.
Max. It's written by Max Borenstein is the
I'm
co-writer.
sure. I'm dig it up. I'll find it. I'm sure the interview I read. It's like one Empire or some shit, and he said it was with his son. He's like, because the son
Yeah,
co-wrote, the other son did this, the daughter did this. Like I think there's
yeah,
like six Rodriguez's involved.
yeah, yeah,
So I think keep that away. Get a Tarantino that would tell you to shut up. This is stupid.
yeah.
Get someone
Like
who.
exactly. Story by Rodriguez works. Like story for sure, but like you just need like or like your old pal Jim Cameron when you're making
Yeah,
Alita. Just have him cast Luke over and be like, take this out and this out and this out. This is the story, and forget these bits because
yep,
I agree. Like Robert Rodriguez could have directed like a Robert Rodriguez Nolan movie could have been good. It's just like the screenplay doesn't know how dumb it needs to be. Like, it's the wrong kind of dumb, I guess I just said earlier.
Yeah.
So that's my small change, is just to simply hire a different writer. Max Landis. My other change would be Affleck.
Oh yeah.
Ditch Affleck and replace him with like someone who's a slightly more dynamic performer, I guess.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't think this is Razzie worthy. I think we might see this come up.
Yeah.
If
I think
it
we will.
Because like this seems like Liam Neeson did all those kind of like generic action movies. We might see this come up somewhere. Particularly if he goes hard for The Flash, we might get like Affleck for The Flash.
Okay, that's my theory. Was this is only going to pop up because of Ben Affleck, and it will be Ben Affleck for something else and Hypnotic.
Yeah,
like the Hypnotic's going to be padded on just to double dunk. I don't think this will actually get a standalone nomination.
No, I would be surprised. Like, it might come up for screenplay, but like,
No.
I doubt it. Mr. Razzie will just go for like the same 5 films, and there'll be some like Machine Gun Kelly thing or whatever. So I don't think he would have to be in hardcore Ana de Armas simp mode, where he's like, how could Affleck do that to her? I'm going to tell you what, Mr. Affleck, I'm going to give you so many Razzies, your head's not going to stop spinning. So yeah, I don't think we will be talking about this come the end of the year, but nevertheless, very, very fun film to watch.
Very fun. I don't recommend it, but I don't not recommend it. If you have an hour and a half and you want to have a Sunday movie, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. Stick it on. It's fine. Don't go in with expectations, but you wouldn't. Like if you go in low expectations, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. If you go in expecting Inception, you'll be disappointed.
And next up, we're going to have a Sergio Leone movie directed by Paul Thomas Anderson as we continue with our unique blend of films that appeal to me and you specifically. But our next episode, it's going to be a big one. We've been waiting a long time for this. We're going off. Well, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
It's like your kid on Christmas.
Yeah.
So, next week, join us when we will be boldly going where no man, where
nobody, where no podcast has ever gone before. We are finally getting into fucking Star Trek. It has been months in the making. I am so excited. I've been waiting for this since we started the podcast. It's the peak. Sorry, viewers, listeners. It's all downhill after Star Trek, but I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so join us next week for Star Trek 5: The Final Frontier.
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, and in the meantime, you can follow us on social media where we are Watching Worst, and you can email us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. So hit us up there if you have any thoughts, comments, queries. If you want to suggest a topic or a film for future specials, then you can contact us there. And next week we will see you for our much awaited Star Trek episode. Yeah, and we'll join all our friends, Captain Picard and Han Solo, Chewbacca, the whole gang. They're all going to be there.
Excellent. Right, thank you very much.